What if I told you there's a spiritual rule, ignored by most Christians, that might be completely blocking the sanctification you're seeking? John Wesley believed that it is not possible to grow in holiness by accident. And this is not a motivational phrase, it is a conviction recorded in his sermons, diaries, and spiritual practices. He didn't trust fleeting emotions or isolated experiences. Wesley believed that holiness needed to be observed, examined, and confronted daily. That's why he kept something that few people know about. One spiritual diary where he had no record of achievements, but falls, intentions, thoughts, hidden flaws, everything before God. A diary that wasn't meant for readers. This was not intended for publication. It was for sanctification. And today, as we delve into sermons on Christian perfection, you'll understand. What was its simple but radical rule which Wesley followed? Because he believed that many Christians are mistaken in thinking they're growing. And how this practice can transform your spiritual life, starting today. But pay attention. This teaching challenges our comfortable faith. And perhaps that explains why so many people know the Bible, but they do not experience real change. Stay with me until the end, because besides the story, I'm going to show you how to apply this in practice, without mysticism and without legalism, exactly as Wesley taught. Before discussing the secret journal of sanctification, you need to understand who John Wesley was spiritually when he wrote about Christian perfection, because that changes everything. John Wesley was not a superficial Christian trying to improve his life. He was a man obsessed with holiness in the most literal sense of the word. From a young age, Wesley lived with a burning question in his heart. Am I truly being transformed or merely disciplined? He fasted every week, prayed for hours a day, read the Bible. He preached tirelessly. Even so, something was bothering him. He realized that religious activity does not guarantee true holiness, and that it is possible to obey outwardly, while the heart remains untouched. It is in this context that daily spiritual self-examination, systematically recorded, becomes important. It's important to understand that Wesley was talking about Christian perfection, not about sinlessness. He was talking about love governing intentions, conscious sins being confronted, heart aligned, not just behavior, visible, measurable, and honest growth. And for that, he believed in a hard truth. That which is not examined is never transformed. The revelation, the secret journal of sanctification. John Wesley kept a spiritual journal, but not in the way you might imagine. It wasn't an emotional diary. It wasn't a pretty devotional. It wasn't a record of victories. It was a spiritual instrument of confrontation. Every single day, without exception, Wesley asked himself questions before God. Questions such as, what conscious sins did I commit today? When did I seek human approval? Was I ruled by love or by pride? Where did I neglect the grace I have received? What hidden thoughts have been inhabiting my mind? And here's the detail that changes everything. He didn't respond to condemn himself. He was answering so not to be mistaken. Wesley believed that the greatest spiritual danger is not visible sin, but pious self-deception. And that is why he was essentially saying, I prefer a heart wounded by the truth rather than being consoled by religious illusions. Now I'm going to reveal the 3 sections of this secret diary, and pay attention to the 3rd section, because it's the one that scares modern Christians the most, but it's also the most powerful. First section, the record of falls. That's right, the saints kept a record every time they failed, but not in the way you imagine. They weren't writing, I sinned again, I'm worthless. No, they were writing with surgical detail. What was the trigger? What was I feeling beforehand? What promise of God did I forget at that moment? For example, one of these diaries said, today I lost my temper with my brother. I realized this happened because I spent the whole morning without praying. I forgot that my strength comes from Christ, not from myself. Tomorrow, before any activity, I will remember, separated from Christ, I can do nothing. Do you see the difference? It's not self-pity, it's spiritual analysis, it's reverse engineering of holiness. In sermons on Christian perfection, we learn that sanctification is progressive. It's like an athlete who records each training session, each failure, each improvement. The secret diary was a record of that journey. Second section, the map of hidden victories. And here's where it gets interesting. The saints didn't record their great public achievements. They recorded the small victories that no one saw. Today, I wanted to speak ill of someone, but I bit my tongue. I felt envious, but I prayed for the person instead of feeding the feeling. I wanted to give up praying, but I stayed for 5 more minutes. Do you know why this is powerful? Because true sanctification doesn't happen on stage. It happens in an empty room, in a conversation no one hears, in the temptation you overcome alone with God. Sermons on Christian perfection make it clear, God isn't impressed by your public performance. He's interested in the transformation of your heart when the cameras are off. But it's the third section that separates ordinary Christians from true saints. And I warn you, this part will affect you because it demands something that few are willing to do. Third section, the brutally honest questions. And this section didn't have pretty answers, just questions that cut to the bone. Every day before going to sleep, the saints asked themselves questions like these. Did anyone benefit today because I exist? Did I love my enemy today, or did I just avoid him? Was my prayer today a conversation with God or a religious monologue? If Jesus returned today, would I be doing what I'm doing now? What secret sin am I harboring that no one knows about? These questions were like spiritual scalpels. They cut away all hypocrisy, all religious pretense, all self-pity. And you know what's even more radical? They weren't asking these questions to feel bad. They were asking them to keep their hearts soft, open to the correction of the Holy Spirit. The myth of instant sanctity. How many times have you felt like a spiritual failure? You go to church on Sunday, get emotional during the worship, promise God you'll change, and by Monday, you're already doing the same things as before. I know exactly what that's like. And you know what I discovered studying sermons on Christian perfection? That this cycle of guilt wasn't meant to be the normal Christian life. In classic sermons on Christian perfection, we discover something revolutionary. True saints didn't wake up perfect. They kept a daily record, a secret diary of sanctification, where they noted not their spiritual achievements to show others, but their most intimate battles. And there was a specific section in that diary that no one else saw, a section that, if revealed, would completely change how we view holiness. I'll tell you what was written there in a moment, but first you need to understand. The modern church has created a dangerous illusion, the illusion of instant holiness. We preach that simply accepting Jesus is enough, and that's it, you are sanctified. But sermons on Christian perfection show us a different reality. John Wesley, one of the greatest preachers on sanctification, said that Christian perfection doesn't mean the absence of temptation or inner struggles. It means pure love for God and neighbor, governing all temperaments, words, and actions. Do you see the difference? It's not about never falling, it's about what governs your heart. And here's the secret that was in the diaries. The saints fell, but they got up differently. They had a method.
The method of daily sanctification. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too heavy-handed. It sounds legalistic. And this is where most people misunderstand sanctification. Sermons on Christian perfection do not preach legalism. They preach passionate love. Sanctification is not about following rules out of fear of punishment. It is transformation because of the love of Christ. The secret diary wasn't a list of religious tasks. It was a documented relationship. It was the story of someone falling more and more in love with Jesus and allowing that love to transform everything. Let me show you how this works in practice, how you can start your own sanctification journal today. First, begin with gratitude, not guilt. Every day, before anything else, write down 3 specific reasons why you are grateful to God. And be specific. Don't write, "I am grateful for life." Write, "I am grateful because I woke up today, because my lungs are working, because I have another chance to know Christ." Specificity breaks down religiosity. Second, perform a spiritual autopsy of the previous day. This is what was in the first section of the journal. Where did you fail? But not just, "I failed to be patient." Go deeper. Why did I fail? Which promise of God did I not believe at that moment? Because all sin, at its core, is unbelief. It is not believing that God is sufficient, that His way is best, that His grace is real. Third, record the invisible victories. That moment when you wanted to react badly but didn't. That conversation where you chose to encourage instead of criticize. Those extra 5 minutes of prayer when your body wanted to give up. Why does this matter? Because our minds have a negative bias. They remember failures more than victories. Journaling rebalances this. It shows you that God's grace is at work even when you don't realize it. Fourth, ask the brutally honest questions. And here's the secret. You don't ask these questions to destroy yourself. You do them to stay spiritually awake. The greatest threat to sanctification is not obvious sin. It is comfortable mediocrity. It is that lukewarm Christian life where you are not doing anything terribly wrong, but you are also not doing anything radically right. Sermons on Christian perfection challenge us. God didn't call you to be just another ordinary Christian. He called you to be holy. And holiness isn't religious perfectionism. It's radical love, passionate obedience, genuine transformation. The 3 biggest mistakes in the pursuit of sanctification. But before I show you how to begin today, I need to warn you about 3 fatal mistakes that destroy the sanctification journey of millions of Christians. And I bet you're making at least one of them. Error number 1. Confusing sanctification with religious performance. That's the most common mistake. People think, if I pray 3 hours a day, read 10 chapters of the Bible, and fast twice a week, I'll be holy. Wrong. Sermons on Christian perfection are clear. You can do all these things and still have a heart far from God. The Pharisees did all of this, and Jesus called them whitewashed tombs. Sanctification is not about the quantity of spiritual activities. It's about the quality of your relationship with God. It's possible to pray for 15 minutes with a broken heart and be closer to God than someone who prays for 3 hours on autopilot. Error number 2. To think that sanctification happens in isolation from the community. Many Christians think, I'll lock myself in my room, have my moments with God, and that's enough. It's not. True sanctification is tested in relationships. It's easy to be patient when you're alone. It's difficult to be patient with that annoying person at church. It's easy to love God on the mountain. It's difficult to love your enemy in the valley. The secret diary recorded the solitary battles, but the saints knew holiness is proven in community. That is why they surrounded themselves with people who challenged them, corrected them, and walked alongside them.
Error number 3, and this is the most deadly. Seeking sanctification without understanding grace. There are people trying to sanctify themselves through willpower. I will succeed. I will be strong. I will win. And they fail repeatedly because they are trying to do the work of the Holy Spirit. Sermons on Christian perfection reveal a beautiful paradox. You are responsible for sanctification, but it is God who sanctifies. You have to strive to the utmost, but trust completely in grace. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. You have to pedal, but if you get too tense, you'll fall. You need effort and relaxation at the same time. Sanctification is like that. Human effort dependent on divine grace. And do you know what the secret journal did? It maintained that balance. When you recorded your failures, you saw your need for grace.
When you recorded your victories, you saw grace at work. The journal was a constant reminder. It is not I, but Christ in me. So, let me recap what we discovered today about the secret sanctification journal. We learned that true holiness is not a public performance, but a private transformation. That the saints kept an intimate record of their struggles, not to impress people, but to grow with God. We looked at the 3 sections of the diary: a record of our falls so we can learn from them, a map of our hidden victories so we can see grace at work, and brutally honest questions to keep our hearts awake. And we understand that sanctification is not legalism, it is not isolation, and it is not willpower. It is growing love that transforms everything. Now, here's my challenge for you. Start today, not tomorrow. Grab a notebook, open a note on your phone, or create a document, and write. Start with gratitude. Perform an autopsy on your day. Record a victory that no one else noticed, and ask yourself at least one brutally honest question. It's going to be uncomfortable, I know, because you're going to have to look at things you'd rather ignore. But it's precisely this discomfort that pulls you out of spiritual mediocrity. Sermons on Christian perfection remind us God is not satisfied with lukewarm Christians. He wants holy, passionate, transformed children. And that transformation begins when you stop pretending and start being brutally honest with God and with yourself. Imagine looking back a year from now and seeing a complete record of your journey with God, seeing how He transformed you, seeing the battles you won, seeing the areas where you grew. This journal isn't going to be a trophy for you to show off. It's going to be a silent witness to God's faithfulness in your life. And when you're feeling discouraged, you can open it and see, look where I was, look where God has brought me. He is faithful. Sanctification is the most difficult and most rewarding journey you can take. And the secret journal? It's simply the tool that keeps you honest, humble, and hopeful on that journey. So don't let this video be just another piece of content you consume and forget. Let it be the turning point, the day you decide to stop pretending and start truly transforming. If you've made it this far, this content has been enriching your spiritual life. Want to delve deeper? Check out the book A Plain Explanation of Christian Perfection by John Wesley. I'll leave the link in the description and in the first comment of this video. But before you leave, let me ask you a few questions that I'd like you to answer in the comments. First question. If Jesus were to read your life's diary this week, what would He find? Unseen victories or just an empty religious routine? Comment honestly below. Second question. What is that secret sin you're carrying alone, thinking you'll never overcome it? What if this video is God's sign that it's time to start recording the battle and trust in His grace? Third question, and this is the most important. Are you willing to begin your secret sanctification journal today, right now? Or will you put it off and continue in the cycle of spiritual mediocrity? Answer in the comments. I read them all and will reply to as many as I can. And look, if this video moved you, if you felt that God spoke something to your heart, then you need to subscribe to this channel now. Why? Because I'm not going to stop here. In the next videos, I will continue dissecting sermons on Christian perfection, revealing more practical secrets of sanctification that the modern church has forgotten. I'm going to talk about how to overcome specific sins, how to develop spiritual disciplines that really work, how to discern God's voice amidst the noise, and much more. So click the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos, and share this with someone you know who is stuck in their Christian life and needs this push. Remember, holiness is not optional for those who say they love Jesus. It's a calling. And today, you took the first step by documenting this journey. See you in the next video, and until then, keep your journal updated and your heart open. Grace and peace.